Welcome to Q&A practice. We'll start out with the plaintiff attorney. Ready? Here we go. And how about with respect to Jack Adams' house? What, if anything, did you find there? Again, we found bloodstains on the couch. And what did you do? We cut the fabric to collect the stain. About what time did you conclude your investigative work that evening? Well, the luminol went on from about 5:30 till 9:30, but in between Bob's house and Jack's house, we also did the garage next to Bob's house. I was going to ask about that. So what did you do? Inside the garage, we had been informed that others had been there before us. There were chalk circles on the floor already. We added luminol, made our own chalk circles, found one spot that was confirmed positive with phenolphthalein, but we were informed that that had already been collected. There was another area that wasn't just a spot on the floor, it was more of a smear. Can you describe this smear in greater detail? Roughly 3 to 4 diameter area, faintly glowing under the luminol, no specific spots or stains. Couldn't see anything with the lights on, just swabbed several places where the luminol had been reacting, tested with phenolphthalein, and did not get a reaction with the phenolphthalein. Alright, so this is that large area you were talking about? Yes. So what did that tell you as a forensic scientist about that large area and its reaction to luminol, but did not react to the more specific phenolphthalein test? Well, there was something that had been spread out in a large area that was reacting, I don't know what, and what cross reacts, cleaning chemicals dilute blood, would react, but it may not show up with phenolphthalein if it was diluted enough, so there was really nothing for us to collect from there. Alright, now as you think about that garage examination, do you have the picture in your mind as to about where in the garage this larger spot which reacted to the luminol was? Yes, I do. And tell us about that. As you face the garage, there was a large overhead door. There was a smaller entry door to the right of that. We went in through that door. Right in front of you was a blocked area because of the amount of stuff that was in the garage, you know, parts of whatever, I don't know what. And the first stall to the left of the main door was a snowmobile, and then in the further stall away from that door was a small SUV type vehicle. This smeared area was, if you walk in the door, move a little bit to the left around that material, between the material that's on the floor and the snowmobile, and then walk straight back toward the back wall until you run into the clutter. It was right in that area in the corner of the clutter at the rear of the snowmobile. Alright, I'm going to have my colleague show you what has been received as Exhibit 107. Is Exhibit 107, what would that be of some help to you in pointing out the general location of this larger spot? There's less clutter than I remember there being, but yes, the vehicle, the snowmobile, and the amount of clutter is there. Alright, is it sufficient for purposes of giving all of us here a general location of that? Yes. Alright, I will have that projected on the screen then, showing Exhibit 107. You have the laser pointer to the rear of this tractor, to the rear of the snowmobile. So you are pointing, the record will reflect the witness is taking the laser pointer and pointing to the area right in front of the green tractor and to the right and behind the snowmobile. Would that be accurate, Mr. James? I would not agree with that. Is that to the front or the rear of the tractor? You are pointing to the rear of the tractor. The rear of the tractor, right? Okay, an area just to the rear of the green tractor would be accurate. Alright, the record will so reflect. Very well. And again, would you give us an approximate size of this box? 3 to 4 foot diameter. Was it circular in shape or oddly shaped? It was oddly shaped. Excuse me for clarification. When you say 3 to 4 feet, do you mean 3 to 4 feet in diameter or radius or what? I think he said 3 to 4 foot diameter. Okay, edge to edge. Okay, now is there a longer measurement that you could somehow use? I know you said a diameter suggests to us a cross of 3 to 4 feet. Is there a general length measurement that you can estimate for us or not? No, I didn't use a measuring tape to measure this area. All right, after completing your examination of the two houses and the garage with the luminol process, what did you do then? Excuse me, Mr. West, 2 questions and I'm done. Very well. What did you do? We had collected the cuttings from the couches in both houses, turned those over to Landers County, and then talked with Agent Davis and Special Agent Franks, and were released from the scene. About what time did you clear the scene? It was about 9:30 p.m. Very well. Were you called back at all, or was that your last trip? That was the last. Thank you. We have no further questions for this witness. Very well. Members of the jury, at this time we'll take our morning break. I will remind you, as usual, that you are not to discuss the case or this morning's testimony during the break. Thank you. Counsel, then, please report back at 10 minutes to 11. Thank you. At this time, we're back on the record. Mr. Matthews, you may commence your cross-examination. Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. James. Good morning. You have an interesting background, and what I would like to do is introduce your curriculum vitae, or I'm not sure exactly what you call it, statement of qualifications. See if you can identify that for us. Yes, that's Exhibit 159, and that is a statement of your qualifications, your training and experience. Is that right? That's right. Okay, I will leave it here in case you need to refresh your recollection on it. And by the way, you were referring to some notes. Yes, you mentioned that could I see those please, so that I may just show me what it was you were refreshing your recollection with. I have my case notes. I believe you have those, my reports, and this is a sheet I just wrote up last night while I was, okay, thank you. If I can just take these with me for a few minutes, and I will leave that with you there. Now, in terms of education, I'm not sure that we got the degree out. You have a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, okay. And then you also have a Master's in Applied Molecular Biology, right? Right. So it seems like you were on your way to a career in fact, some of your articles in there look like you were on a career to be a plant biologist of some sort. Career path originally. I spent a lot of time doing that, yes. In fact, you were a researcher for 10 years with UW Parkside, right? Yes. And then you worked at Abbott Labs for a period of time, yes. Try a little bit of colloquy practice. And we will start with defense attorney. Ready? Here we go. And you know that is an issue in this case. There are code sections that refer to judicial economy and side issues, and we can get into this. Your Honor, I have all kinds of evidence to show the many times that my client and the deceased went to the hospitals and the agencies that'll allow them to get medical treatment at reduced rates and trying to get medical treatment, and they were told that they made too much money. If you make more than $1,200 a month, that's too much money, and I can bring in evidence to show how much she made, how much he made, and to show that in order for her, and I have lots of evidence showing what her medical problems were and my client's medical problems and how they could not get any treatment. So we can litigate that issue for another week, to show that maybe the divorce was for that and not for any other reason. Judicial economy is not a substitute for a fair trial. Yes, sir. And we talked about an estimate, a reasonable estimate of time. I suspect that based upon what you are telling me, and if this is, at this point, really, I don't know how much of this is the feathers from the bird. So if it turns out this is something we need to make an argument about, if this is where the whole battle line is being drawn, Were they happily married, getting a divorce, or were they not? Then I think, based upon my viewing of the old Perry Mason episodes as they came out, motive and opportunity are two major things we want to consider. And so, I can't say that judicial economy should mitigate against allowing Mr. Franks to show motive, or for you to in turn to show absence of motive, Mr. Allen. I agree, and although I'm objecting to I think that there's just too many collateral issues here, the divorce and her plans and all those things, I assumed she would allow him to put in effect that he had filed a divorce. She signed off on it, they agreed to everything, they went in here in this courtroom and had somebody help them do it together. I would think that she wrote emails to her daughter saying that she was unhappy and she looked forward to a new life. Those kind of things I assumed you were going to let in. But that's not the same as letting in the words of some other person besides the deceased, and we have her words in these emails, somebody other than the deceased, saying sometime, within the last year, she told me that there was some physical abuse, and that she's afraid of him, of him. It's very strong. That's very strong. That's very strong. It is. And it goes beyond the simple motive issue, perhaps. And every other witness that was interviewed by the police, and there was a dozen of them, said we never saw physical abuse, just verbal abuse, maybe emotional abuse, but no physical abuse. So what I'm trying to do is to make sure when we talk about abuse, we talk about the correct kind. Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to move on. I'll tell you the reason why I'm going to move on, because I haven't looked. Do I have just a plethora of authority on this subject from you, Mr. Franks? No, regarding, I'm not able to pull the names of the cases right off the top of my head, but there are definitely cases that talk about the decedent's statement that he or she was afraid of someone and whether or not that's admissible. At this point, here is what I will say. I'm satisfied to allow the statement that he was, and her statements that she was planning on doing something other than going through a paper divorce. I'll allow that to come in because it goes to the impeachment of Mr. Perez, as Mr. Franks said. Now, what else goes into that is the fact that she was unhappy, the fact that she was other people said verbally abusive, right? Yes, sir. And we will stop there. That will conclude our Q&A practice.